Imagine a man trapped in his own mind, wandering the streets of St. Petersburg, carrying an idea as one would carry a disease. His name is Raskolnikov, and his torment is the same as that of all who have tried to justify the unjustifiable. Fyodor Dostoevsky takes us inside this character with brutal mastery. Raskolnikov is not just a poor student with delusions of grandeur. He is someone who believes he has solved the moral equation of the world. Is it not the end that matters? Is it not power that defines who deserves to live and who does not? For Raskolnikov, guilt does not exist. It cannot exist. He has decided that it is nothing more than a construct for the weak. But Dostoevsky shows us something deeper. No matter how much we try to escape guilt, it always catches up with us. The moment Raskolnikov commits murder, his mind is no longer his own. His rational justification dissolves into fever, into fear, into the invisible weight of what he has done. This is the central dilemma of crime and punishment. It is not just a novel about the crime itself, but about what happens afterward, when the conscience becomes an inescapable judge. Dostoevsky does not need angels or demons to punish his protagonist. Guilt is enough. But what is guilt? Where does that voice come from? The one that follows us even when we think we have silenced it. Guilt is not just a weight on Raskolnikov's shoulders. It is a labyrinth in which he is lost. Every step he takes sinks him further into his own contradiction. He believed he committed the crime for a higher reason, convinced that great men are beyond good and evil. Napoleon did not stop to think about the bodies he left behind, so why should he? But guilt is insidious. It does not reveal itself immediately. It seeps into his fever, into the dreams where the old pawnbroker is still alive, where the axe never finishes its work. It hides in the whispers of the city, in the gazes of others, in the panic that grips him at the sight of a policeman on the street. Dostoevsky immerses us in Raskolnikov's mind, and in the process, he confronts us with an uncomfortable question. Can any action be justified in the name of an idea? How far does logic go before the conscience tears it apart? Because that is the trap of guilt. It does not follow the rules of reason. Raskolnikov thought his crime was a simple calculation, and yet we see him staggering, delirious, desperately searching for a way out that does not exist. And this is where Dostoevsky's true brilliance shines. He does not tell us that guilt is merely a punishment, it is also a doorway. It is not just suffering, it is a path to something more. But to find it, Raskolnikov must pass through his own darkness. Guilt surrounds him like a shadow, inescapable, ever present. No matter how many times he tries to justify himself, no matter how many theories he constructs in his mind, the weight of his crime haunts him. His soul is divided between the man he wanted to be, strong, indifferent, superior, and the man he truly is, vulnerable, tormented, unable to bear the weight of his own transgression. The world outside keeps turning, indifferent to his suffering. St. Petersburg moves forward. The drunks in the taverns, the cries of merchants, the poverty seeping through every crack in the city. But inside Raskolnikov, the storm is constant. His mind is a battlefield where logic clashes with conscience, where the idea of his greatness shatters against the reality of his misery. And in the middle of that storm, Sonia appears. Sonia, who knows suffering better than anyone. Sonia, who has been pushed to despair, but still holds on to something he lacks. Compassion, faith in something greater than pain. When Raskolnikov looks at her, he feels both drawn to and repelled by her. She is his opposite. She has suffered, but has not hardened. She has been humiliated, but still loves. And in her gaze, he sees a reflection of his own condemnation. Because the more he tries to escape guilt, the more life pushes him toward it. Their conversation is one of the most powerful moments in Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov mocks her faith, challenges her beliefs, but deep down, he needs what she has. He needs a way out. not a logical escape, not an intellectual justification, but something much harder to accept: redemption. But redemption demands something he is not yet willing to give. It demands surrendering to the truth, accepting that his suffering is not just an inconvenience, but a test. It demands confession, kneeling, accepting guilt in its entirety. And Raskolnikov is not a man who kneels easily. His struggle is not just with the law or with society. His true battle is with himself. And as in all great tragedies, there is no escape. There is only one path: to go through suffering to the very end. The weight of guilt does not fade with time. On the contrary, it becomes more unbearable. Raskolnikov wanders through St. Petersburg, trapped in a feverish existence, without rest or relief. He feels like a ghost, someone who no longer belongs to the world of the living, because even though no one else knows, he is already condemned. He clings to the idea that his crime was justified. He tells himself that the old pawnbroker was nothing more than a parasite, that her death was insignificant. But inside him, something resists. Every encounter with Sonia, every conversation with Porfiry Petrovich, every word from his mother and sister, everything that once was part of his life now carries a double meaning. They look at him as if they know, as if, deep down, he is begging to be discovered. Inspector Porfiry Petrovich watches him patiently, like a cat playing with a mouse. He does not need definitive proof, because he understands something deeper. The mind of a guilty man always finds a way to betray itself. Confession is only a matter of time. And yet, Raskolnikov's greatest tormentor is not the law, but his own soul. With each passing day, it becomes more evident that his crime did not make him extraordinary but broken. He did not rise above common morality. He sank into his own misery. Sonia is the one who finally shows him the only possible path. She confronts him with his own weakness, but not with cruelty, rather with love. Her faith in him is unshakable, not because she sees him as innocent, but because she knows that only by facing his guilt can he find peace. And so, the inevitable moment arrives. Raskolnikov goes to the square, falls to his knees, and kisses the dusty ground. It is an act of surrender, an acknowledgement that he can no longer keep running. "I have killed," he finally confesses. And with those words, the unbearable weight of his crime begins to transform into something else: the possibility of redemption. But redemption is neither immediate nor easy. Punishment still awaits him in Siberia, where the cold and isolation will be his true test. Because repentance is not just admitting guilt, it is carrying it, enduring it, learning to live with what has been done. Dostoevsky leaves us with an unsettling question: can someone truly redeem themselves after crossing the line into crime, or is guilt a sentence that never fully dissolves? The ending of crime and punishment is not a definitive closure, but the beginning of another story. The story of a man who, for the first time, accepts his humanity in all its fragility.